Good morning, students. It is Thursday, and I am so glad you're here with me today. So let's go ahead and get started with our word of the day for Word Nerd. Make sure that you have your reading notebook out so that you can write this word down, and we will go over our word from yesterday. So our word from yesterday is, and let's go ahead and flip the camera, prairie. So that was our word from yesterday. You can see the prairie there. We do have prairie. If you've ever been to the Wichita Mountains, there is a prairie grass reserve down there, and you can look at the prairie grass. It's very tall, much taller than you would think it would be. Okay, so here is our word. Prairie is a noun, a large open area of grassland, especially in the Mississippi River Valley. The tall prairie grass came up to my waist as I walked through it, is my sentence. My synonym would be meadow, and my antonym would be mountain. So that is for today's word, prairie. If you did not get that written down, there you go. Our word for tomorrow, which is really for today, but we will go over it tomorrow, is moccasins. And look at those cool moccasins right there. Very intricate details, beading, sewing. We're going to talk about why those bells are on there. That's going to have something to do with another tribe we're going to talk about. Okay. All right. Oops, sorry. Okay. So that was our word from yesterday and our word for today. And then let's go ahead and talk about our reading activities this week. We're doing the story The Hindenburg. And tomorrow we're going to watch some videos about the actual incident and maybe some theories. We are also going to be reading a story from the Navajo Nation. So tomorrow's going to be more of a fun day. We'll have a couple of things to do, but not too much. So make sure you watch your video tomorrow. I know Friday sometimes we like to slack off, but we'll have some things, but it'll be more fun things tomorrow, some cool videos and things. And maybe I can get it to work on my big TV and figure out a way to hold my phone up there so you can look at it on there. I'm going to try to fix that today. Okay, so anyway, we're doing this packet about the Hindenburg. And so yesterday's assignment, let's go ahead and flip the phone so you can see. We've done this with our interesting facts about the Hindenburg. Then yesterday we did our cause and effect, and we went over cause and effect. And the top was supposed to be the cause, and you were supposed to do visual imagery, and the bottom was supposed to be the effect with visual imagery. So we did those. Today I did not write anything on here because I need you to do this yourself, but I will give you some help with it. It says, use the causes to find the effects in the story. So we have these different causes right here, and let's talk about what these are, okay? So we have right here, this says the Nazis, I better start on number 1. The first Zeppelin is built. So that is the cause. What was the effect of the first Zeppelin ever being built? Not the Hindenburg, but the very first Zeppelin. What did that cause to happen? Okay, number 2, the Nazis take over Germany. What was an effect of the Nazis taking over Germany? Think about the person, Hugh Eckener, that created the Hindenburg. Think about what happened to him when they took over. Number 3, it says the storm brews over New Jersey. That should be an easy one to figure out the effect. And number 4, the Hindenburg crashes. Well, what happened after the Hindenburg crashed to the blimp flying aircrafts? Those are your hints for those. So in a complete sentence, you are going to write the effect, because these all 4 are causes, and you are going to write the effect under each one of these in a complete sentence, okay? So that is your assignment that has to do with the Hindenburg today. And yes, you may use your book. Go back and look for those effects if you need to. They're all going to be in your book. They're right there in your story if you've read your story, okay? So that's for our Hindenburg, for our reading and our word for the day. Now we're going to move on to our Navajo Indians. So I need you to get out this packet right here. I'm going to wait just a second for you to get that out. While you're getting that out, we're going to read that together. The Navajo Indians live in the desert. They're considered desert Indians. I told you that yesterday. We've had the Sioux Indians, which were the Plains Indians, which lived in the middle of the United States. They followed the buffalo and they lived in teepees. Then we had the Tlingit Indians that lived in the northwest coast, which is up in Alaska and Canada. And they have plank houses and built totem poles. each tribe has their own thing that they're kind of known for, and the Navajo live in the Southwest, which is kind of like Arizona, New Mexico, that whole little area right in there, mostly Arizona and around the Grand Canyon. I have been to the Navajo Nation before. So anyway, the paper we're going to be reading today, this is about the Navajo, so if you want to follow along while we're reading today, that would be great. So here we go. The Navajo tribe is one of the largest Native American tribes in the United States. The Navajo refer to themselves as, I'm not sure how to say this, the Denya, which means people. The Navajo lived in the canyons and mountains of Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. About 200,000 Navajo live on a Navajo reservation today. Okay. Turn the page. Long ago, the Navajo wore clothes made from deerskin. Later on, men wore brightly colored shirts, pants, and blankets wrapped across one shoulder. Women wore colorful dresses made from wool, and wool comes from what? Sheep. They also strapped cradle boards on their backs so they could carry their babies. The Navajo also wore belts, bracelets, and necklaces made from silver, leather, and turquoise. And they also used goats to do weaving with their items also, goats and sheep. If you go into New Mexico and Arizona, there are many places you can stop along the road, and they have beautiful jewelry and blankets there for sale that the Navajo people have made themselves. They are so very talented, and it is such a wonderful part of their culture that we get to enjoy. I have a ring from the Navajo Nation that my mother bought me, and it is beautiful, and it has turquoise in it, and it's obviously silver, and it has a big red stone in it too. But anyway, they are very talented in making their belts, their bracelets, their jewelry, weaving their rugs. It's really, really interesting. Okay, so the next paragraph. The Navajo planted and harvested corn, potatoes, wheat, and fruit. Sheep were the main source of food. The meat was used to make soup. Many vegetables were also added to the soup. The Navajo used the wheat they had grown to make fry bread. Fry bread was eaten at almost most meals. Okay, so you know that nice poofy bread that we get in the cafeteria sometimes that they put the stuff on it, and we think of it as kind of maybe like a Hispanic or Mexican-American meal because we put the taco meat and stuff on top of it. Well, the Native Americans of the Navajo tribe were one of the very first people to make fry bread, and they put lots of things on theirs too, their meat and their vegetables, but it was, they ate sheep. They said that's what they had at that time because they lived in the desert. Cattle have to have big areas of grass to graze on, and there's no grass out in the desert. Anyway, so that fry bread stuff, that's good. And if you've ever been to Arizona or New Mexico and had big, fat, poofy, real fry bread, oh, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, next paragraph, next page, okay? We're going to look at their homes. And I have seen these in Arizona. I have seen an actual hogan many times. So it says, the Navajo people built lodges called hogans. Hogan is a Navajo word meaning house. Hogans were sticks and logs packed with dirt and mud. A hogan had one giant room that measured 20 to 30 feet across. There was a smoke hole in the center of the roof. The door to each hogan always faced east so the Navajo people could give thanks to the rising sun. So they lived in a one-room house with no windows. So think about that, living with your siblings in a little 20-foot by 30-foot house with just you and your family, no windows at all. My little self would be a little bit crazy. I gotta have a little more space than that, but that's how they lived at that time, and that was a part of their culture, and they thought that they needed to face the east because that is how they gave thanks to the sun that would rise up each morning. And they had a smoke hole in the top because they cooked inside their hogan also, and obviously if it got cold at night, and it does in the desert, they would have to have a fire, and that smoke would need a place to go out. Otherwise they would have suffocated, obviously, so they had their smoke hole in the top. So they didn't have to worry a lot about rain because in parts of the desert it doesn't rain that much. For a place to be considered a desert or a semi-desert, it has to receive less than 10 inches of rainfall. So that's why they didn't have to worry about it like raining through the hole in the top of their house all the time. Okay, next paragraph, we're going to read about how they actually weave these rugs and their dresses, what they made with wool. It says Navajo women used a loom to weave wool into beautiful blankets, clothing, and rugs. They used cacti, that's a cactus, and other plants, shrubs, and trees to make the dye they needed. Men hunted wild animals for food and clothing. They also made silver belts, rings, and other jewelry. The Navajo made sand paintings. Sand paintings were once used in ceremonies. Once a ceremony was over, the painting was destroyed. And I have seen many of these beautiful sand paintings because they obviously have kept some now. But back then they would paint these, they would just use sand and they would make these pictures out of the sand, and then they would just wipe it away when the ceremony was over after these people had done these beautiful things. Kind of like if you washed your canvas off after you painted a picture. That would be kind of the same thing. But tomorrow I'll kind of show you some of those pictures. We're going to, like I said, we're going to watch some videos and look at some pictures and do some different stuff tomorrow. We're going to read this book. This is called The Goat and the Rug, and this is from Window Rock, Arizona, about the Navajo Weaver Glen May. So, yes, Glen May and Geraldine is who it's about. We're going to read that tomorrow. That's a pretty good book, and it's a true story. So that is a little bit of information about the Navajos. Now what you're going to do today is, with your Navajo things, you are going to get your label and your pictures that you should have colored yesterday. Now we should have our name and our label of the Sioux on the front. On the back of the pocket at the top we have the Tlingit, and the next one is the Navajo, and then we have one more spot for our last tribe when we do that Monday and Tuesday. So there we go. So that's how that should look. And then you will have new notes today that you are going to write in your interactive social studies, not reading, social studies notebook. So they're going to look like this. Notice I have my little words there with the definitions, a little bit of information at the top. So that's going to go in your interactive social studies notebook. That picture will be on Google Classroom. You will have to go to Google Classroom today to copy those notes into your interactive notebook. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is our Seminole Dictionary words. So I want you to make sure you're saying these with me and saying what they mean. We have 3 new words today, so let's go ahead and flip. Okay, so here we go. Kazapi means cold. Chito means snake. Lani means green. Uji means corn. Owa means water. Ifa means dog. Fatho means fish. Hussy means sun. Hathisi means moon. Miski means summer. Figi means heart. Fuswa means bird. Penwa means turkey. Goody means frog. Oba means owl. Edo means tree. Our new ones, one more. Jada means blood. Then we have Jadi, which means red. Jussi, which means pumpkin. And Jabaki, which means mad or angry. Now I want you to look at how these sound compared to how they're spelled for our language right here. How different those are than how we would spell those with using our letters. Isn't that neat? Okay, so that is those are our Seminole Dictionary words. I hope you're having fun with that. Like I said, I'm obviously not a Seminole Native American, but I did work with 2 ladies that were full-blood Seminole Indians at Wewoka, and they were wonderful. They helped me in my Title VII program when I taught there, and they're the ones that helped me make this dictionary and learn these words and how to say them. So I've always been grateful to them because I've done this for a long time, and I really enjoyed learning that from them, and that was really special. Mrs. Harjo and Susan were my helpers when I taught Title VII. Okay, so anyway, that is that for today. Now, let's go ahead and look at our last thing, which is our Thinking Thankful Thoughts journal. So let's turn that. Hope you have not been cheating and you've been doing it. We had page 1, page 2, page 3, and then yesterday's page 4, and this is page, I think this is page 5, but this is what our question was from yesterday. It says, Do you think you will appreciate your item more now that you have had to do without it? So this was yesterday's. And I put on mine, I believe I will appreciate my item when I get it back. But I also have realized I use it too much. So I am going to limit the time I am on social media. I have realized I need it for my job some, but not so much for the rest of my life. So I'm going to try to be better about scrolling through stuff. I don't really watch tons of YouTube videos. I did for my job, but I don't have to do that as much now. But I really scroll a lot through TikTok and Instagram sometimes just to scroll and to look at stuff. And I don't need to do that as much. And I'm sure you don't either. I need to spend more time doing things that matter. So that's what I've learned from that. But I do still need to use it, and I will appreciate it having it back, because there's been several times that I thought, ooh, I need to see how to do this. And I can't look at it. So that part I will enjoy having back, especially for teaching school, because there are a lot of intelligent, creative people out there, and I enjoy seeing their content. And sometimes it gives me ideas. So I like that part of it. Okay, so anyway, that's that. Now let's do our factor credo. So this is all about the licking machine. So yesterday's question was, and I told you about the Tootsie Pop suckers, right? Okay, so it says, the licking machine, based on the actions of a human tongue, was created by engineering students at Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana, to determine the number of licks required to reach the chocolate center of a Tootsie Roll Pop. Okay, so how many of you think that's fact? Think in your head. How many of you think that's crud? Guess what? It's a fact. It said it took the licking machine 364 licks. Humans performing the same licking task reached the pop center in 252 licks. So humans licked the machine. So there you go. I always wanted to know that answer when I was a kid, and now I know the answer to that. Okay, so today, here is your one for today. And it says, the London Zoo Monkey House was the location for the first experiments in 1925 to prove that monkeys could be trained to use sign language to communicate with humans. So I'm sure most of you know that monkeys can use sign language. I'm sure you've seen some shows on that. There's a book called Coco and the Kitten, or there's some other books about that. I know you may have read about that. But did that first begin in the Zoo Monkey House at London, England in 1925? So you have to decide, is that fact or crud? And we'll have that answer tomorrow. Okay, please make sure and come back tomorrow. Like I said, I'm going to be reading. We're going to be watching some videos about the Navajo Indians. We also are going to be talking about an experiment we're going to be doing on Monday, and the things you're going to need to get this weekend to participate in that with me. Something I've never done. Don't know how it'll go, but I think it'll be fun for us. So come back tomorrow, do your work. You don't have a whole lot of things to do today. You have to write your couple of words on your Seminole Dictionary. The biggest thing you have to do today is to copy those notes that are going to be in Google Classroom for your interactive social studies notebooks about the Navajo Nation, the Indians. And then you need to do your Thinking Thankful Thoughts journal about your item that you've given up, and do your cause and effect paper for your Hindenburg story. So those are the things we have to do today, and I just want to say I love you. Hope you're having a great day. Get outside later and do some activity out there. And remember, kindness is a language everyone can hear. Bye.